Good evening, Mr. Mohanka.
Hi, Pratati, you're there.
Yes, I'm there.
Oh, good to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're
Good
all
evening.
waiting to listen to you. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mohanka. Good evening. Sureshna madam, apni start karo. You can start, Sureshna madam.
Asking all participants to open their videos, please.
Yes, yes. To start.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A very warm welcome to all of you in today's webinar titled My Journey as an Entrepreneur, where the speaker is Mr. Madan Mohanka, a distinguished speaker and executive chairman, Tega Industries, and Dr. Shumon Kumar Dawn, principal, Calcutta Business School, as the moderator. I warmly welcome our core committee members, Mr. Saurabh Ghosh, Senior Advisor, Shikshayatan Foundation, Mrs. Bratati Bhattacharya, Secretary General, Shikshayatan Foundation, and all professors, staff, and students present here today. Before we start, let me give you a brief introduction about Shikshayatan Foundation, the apex body of Calcutta Business School, which is celebrating its 100 years of educational excellence and legacy. It all started in 1920, when a group of eminent industrialists started the Marwari Balika Vidyalaya. In 1954, the Sri Shikshayatan School was established, and in 1955, the Sri Shikshayatan College. In 2008, Calcutta Business School was added to it. All this was achieved under the umbrella of Shikshayatan Foundation under the stewardship of Mr. S.K. Birla, President and Director Emeritus of the Foundation, Mr. Siddharth Birla, Vice President, Mr. G.K. Khaitan, Trustee and President of Sri Shikshayatan College, Mr. R.S. Goenka, Trustee and MD of Imami Group, and a host of other eminent industrialists. Mrs. Bhattacharya is the Secretary General of the Foundation. Calcutta Business School offers a 2-year full-time AICTE-approved postgraduate diploma in management and several other certificate programs and management development programs in its sprawling lush green campus just 3 kilometers from Swaminarayan Temple on Diamond Harbour Road. It is a residential business school for boys and girls, offering experiential learning and excellent placement. We would now like to show you a small video on our campus, and I request Mr. Sunil Ray to play the video, please.
Selling is your essence. Then you are welcome to Calcutta Business School. Center of Excellence. Centered on excellence.
It all started in the year 1920 when some eminent industrialists of Kolkata founded the Marwari Balika Vidyalaya. Later, in 1954, Sri Shikshayatan School was founded, and in 1955, Sri Shikshayatan College came into being with the objective of further propagating quality education to girls. All these institutions have continued to excel under the management of the Shikshayatan Foundation.
It has been guided by industrialists like President Mr. S.K. Birla, Director Emeritus, Birla Brothers Private Limited, Mr. Siddharth Birla, Vice President, Mr. G.K. Khaitan, Trustee and President of Shikshayatan College, Mr. R.S. Goenka, Trustee and MD of Imami Group, and many other reputed industrialists. The Secretary General of the Foundation is Mrs. Bratati Bhattacharya.
Greetings. I would like to speak a few words about our institution, the Shikshayatan Foundation. The year was 1920, when some of my forefathers thought that female education needed to be propagated much more actively than was the custom in those days. And we donated from our family 2 buildings in the heart of Bada Bazaar for the girl child to be educated there. That institution is still working. The latest addition to our bouquet of institutions has been the Calcutta Business School, which was started a few years ago on a 15-acre plot of land and not very far away from IIM Calcutta.
Calcutta Business School offers an AICTE-approved, autonomous, 2-year full-time residential program on postgraduate diploma in management, majoring in subjects like finance, marketing, IT, operations and human resource. But it's the unique cluster of courses that sets it apart. Interactive and intuitive games like management game and stock market simulation game. It also puts heavy emphasis on data handling and business analytics and uses databases and software like CMIE Prowess, MetaStock, R, and SAP.
Kolkata is the city of joy. It is the cultural capital of India, a city which has its soulful embodiment of culture, love, mystery, respect, and enthusiasm. A city that upholds a perfect juxtaposition between the old world and the modern one. It has given us many Nobel laureates over the years. It has iconic institutes like the Calcutta University, the National Library, Presidency University, Bishwa Bharati, IIM Calcutta, and many such legendary institutes. Calcutta Business School's AICTE-approved PGDM program is carrying forward this rich legacy of Kolkata.
Thank you. We would now directly start the webinar and would like to take this opportunity of introducing our distinguished speaker, Mr. Madan Mohanka, Executive Chairman, Tega Industries Limited. Mr. Mohanka is a civil engineer from Birla Institute of Technology, Ranchi, and did his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. He is the Executive Chairman of Tega Industries Limited, as well as chairman of the other group companies as Aqua Technologies, Maple Octech, Hosh Equipment India Limited. Tega Industries is the flagship company and is a global leader in design and production of consumables for mineral beneficiation, mining, and bulk solids handling industry. Mr. Mohanka was chairman of Mining and Equipment Committee of CII and also the chairman of Education Subcommittee CII. He has won numerous professional awards as the Samman Patra Award, Tiger Award, Lifetime Achievement Award in the field of mineral engineering, Outstanding Entrepreneurship Award, and Entrepreneurship of the Year in various stages and years. The list is so long that it's very difficult to finish it in one go. I now request our principal, Dr. Shuman Kumar Dawn, to take this webinar forward. Over to you, Dr. Dawn. You're muted, sir. Dr. Dawn, you are muted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ghosh. Thank you. So, moderator, I shall moderate. Good evening to all, and also good evening, respected Mr. Madan Mohanka. Good evening, respected core committee members, Mr. Saurabh Ghosh, Mrs. Bhaturi Bhattacharya, Secretary General, Shikshayatan Foundation. Good evening, my faculty members of Calcutta Business School and my beloved students of Calcutta Business School. Good evening to all students and faculty members, ladies and gentlemen. It is my proud privilege that I shall do moderation in this webinar, wherein the theme of the webinar is my journey as an entrepreneur. It is most relevant topic nowadays, since the young generation must come up to set up their enterprises rather to take up jobs. I shall narrate a small part. I shall give the significance of this topic, and later on, Mr. Mohanka will give more details. After that, there will be question and answer sessions of students. Entrepreneurship is the innovative process because entrepreneurs should create new technological solutions, products and services. Innovation, that we all know, is the uncertain journey. Entrepreneurs can fail many times in the journey of new business creation. New ventures confront a number of diverse problems, pitfalls, and obstacles. Entrepreneur journey emerging from entrepreneurial intent is in a specific procedure of opportunity realization through the combination of resources that all we know. In this regard, several theories are deserved to be mentioned. New combination theory, Sumter J. 1942, dynamic capability, Casey D. J.C. Pisano and A. Swain in 1997, resource-based view, Barney J. 1991, innovation journey, Handevan H. D.H. Polly R. Garud and S. Venkataraman in 1999. However, the new combination theory is concerned solely with the big notion of innovation and neglects some details, whereas the dynamic capability theory appears to supply an introductory level of explanation on three components. The theory of innovation journey provided an excellent description of its course of innovation through alternating convergent behavior and divergent behavior. Entrepreneurial intent is the mental force that realizes the value of a new business opportunity. It is in the intersection of strategic intent and entrepreneurial mindset. Strategic intent is the part in which goals are to establish a new position in the market or win against the competition. Strategic intent is the intent of the entire organization to win over rivals. Entrepreneurial intent, on the other hand, is the focus not on competitors, but on opportunity itself. It begins from the individual and is extended to the founding group. The journey of an entrepreneur starts at a very early stage, where a future entrepreneur is made to develop various skills. Once all the skills required by the entrepreneur are proposed by the budding entrepreneur, then all he needs is resources. Once he gets all the resources, then you should effectively and efficiently use the available resources and try to expand the company. In between, there may be many hurdles, obstacles in his path towards success, but he or she has to make use of this opportunity, take some moderate risks, and the crucial decisions to help the company grow further. The journey of an entrepreneur consists of 5 major stages in his life, and they are pre-entrepreneurship stage, budding entrepreneurship stage, incubation stage, network development stage, and the expansion stage. Now I shall give 2 example cases that this about the journey of the entrepreneur. Patricia Narayan, she started her career 30 years ago as an entrepreneur, selling eateries from a mobile cart on the Marina Beach amidst all odds. Today, she has overcome the hurdles and owns a chain of restaurants. According to her, I started my business with just 2 people. Now there are 200 people working for me in my restaurant. My lifestyle has changed too. From traveling in a cycle disco, I moved to auto risk, and now I have my own car. From 50 paise a day, my revenue has gone to rupees 2 lakh per day. Another is very famous entrepreneur, Karsan Bhai Patel, who is the owner of Nirma. The Nirma success story of how an Indian entrepreneur took on the big MNCs and rewrote the rules of the business. It was in 1969 that Dr. Karsan Bhai Patel started Nirma and went on to create a whole new segment in the Indian domestic detergent market. During that time, the domestic market only had the premium segment, and there were very few companies, mainly the MNCs, which were into the business. Karsan Bhai Patel to take detergent powder in the backyard of his house in Ahmedabad and then carry out door-to-door selling on his handmade product. He gave a money-back guarantee with every pack that was sold. Karsan Bhai Patel managed to offer his detergent powder for rupees 3 per kg, when the cheapest detergent at that time was rupees 13 per kg, and so he was able to successfully target the middle and lower middle income segment. Nirma became a huge success, and all this was a result of Karsan Bhai Patel's entrepreneurial skills. The best case that he is following: give your consumer what he wants, when he wants, where he wants, and at the price he wants. Selling will be done quite automatically. That is the marketing mantra of Nirma, the company that was started in 1969 with just one man who used to deliver his product from one house to the other. Today employs around 14,000 people and has a turnover of more than $500 million. In 2004, Nirma, the annual sales were as high as 8 lakh tons. Advice to young entrepreneurs: do not over-compromise on quality. Never lose your self-confidence. Believe in yourself and the product you are making. Always stick to what you know. At the end, there are 3 main points of any entrepreneurial program which I understand. First one, how to become an entrepreneur. That is very, very important. How to get funding and how to incorporate your business. Now these 3 points will be delivered by Mr. Madan Mohanka. We all look forward for the thought-provoking lecture session from Mr. Madan Mohanka. Over to Madan Mohanka. Before going to Mr. Mohanka, the first video will be shown by Mr. Sunil Ray, that CNBC video.
You can show this video later on, maybe.
Okay,
Not
okay.
now. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Can I start now?
Yes, you can start.
Good evening,
Good evening.
my dear friend Bratati, faculty member and students. We are meeting at a time when the world is going through one of the biggest human crises of Corona. I only hope that everything goes well and goes well soon. Boys and girls, you have come to this institute after a determination and hard work. After passing out, you will start a coveted career. The world will be at your feet, but you, however, will be like an inexperienced bird trying to fly out of the nest. During your journey from now in the institute and in your career, you'll face a lot of challenges. I have gone through the similar challenges at IIM and subsequent in my business life for 54 years. I'm sure you have enjoyed your studies so far. I'm going to share with you some of my experience at IIM and later on. I started my career with the scratch, and today I have six manufacturing plant, three in India, Dahej in Gujarat, two in Bengal, three in Australia, South Africa, and Chile. And through our 18 offices, we supply and service to 100 countries. My aim was that one day the Calcutta should be known in the mining world with the word Tega. Now, today in our line of business, we are the second largest company in the world, manufacturing mineral processing equipment. We are one of the truly Indian multinational employing 362 people of different foreign nationalities of 17 nationalities. All of you will do well. Some will go high in some areas, some will go high in some areas. Why will it happen so? It will depend upon how you take your life forward, what kind of risks do you take, what kind of challenges you accept. The very first day when I had my admission in IIM Ahmedabad, immediately after the introduction, they gave us 3 case studies to handle next day morning at 9 o'clock. One case study was a Galway series, 157-page accounting. So my roommate was a BSc statistics and I was an engineer. So none of us knew what debit or credit is. So we approached Dean, Dr. VL Mote, can you arrange some tuition for us for an hour to teach us accounting so that we can do this case properly? His answer was, we throw you in the sea. We don't ask you whether you know swimming. You drown and die, you die and get out of my room. I don't know which place have we come, where we have put our neck, and what kind of a man we are going to deal with. Believe me, in 15 days, myself and my roommate Melkot, we worked hard and we were among the top 10. The first lesson I got, there is nothing impossible in life. If you decide to do anything, you will do it. No job is difficult. That is the first you should think when you pass out or during the school, you will learn many new subjects which you have not dealt with in the past. When I passed out, the CTC used to be 10,000 rupees a year for an MBA from Ahmedabad. Highest salary one got was 12,000 rupees a year. So I didn't know what will happen with this money. So I thought I'll go to USA and make my career. I made an application and I gave my application to Dean to recommend. He did not recommend. I met him, what crime have I done? He told, I didn't train you up to go to USA, create employment in this country. Don't go. I never looked at USA to go and start my career. I chose a risky path. So I dreamt of creating an organization that will make major contribution to society without sacrificing the interest of employees, shareholder. And out of that dream, Tega was born. So when I was visiting the office of NMDC, Kiruburu, chief engineer, I saw a magazine in his room, mining magazine, in which I saw the ad of Skega. The ad said they provide solution to mining and mineral processing industry to reduce their downtime and improve the productivity. And it required a simulation of 3 different technologies: mechanical engineering, mineral processing, and tribology. So I thought this is fascinating, something very challenging. So I wrote them a letter and their reply did not come. So I decided to go and meet them. When I met them, they told, haven't you seen our reply? I said, no. They sent the reply to me by sea post, which came 6 months later. Had I received the reply earlier, maybe I would not have gone. So then it took 5 years from Government of India to get the foreign collaboration approved, because the government always thought this is a molded rubber product, thousands of people make in India, why you need a foreign collaboration for this? It took me 5 years to explain to them. this is not a rubber product. I am transferring a technology to reduce the downtime of the equipment and improve the productivity. It took them 5 years. And they agreed to approve it on the condition that 45 lakh that I will pay as a down payment and royalty to Skega, I will export that much so that foreign exchange will be equal. And they gave it for a place called Kalyani. You can't do it in the city, you have to do it in a faraway area, backward area. I agreed. When I met Skega for 5 years, they told you will need to educate the customer because you are replacing steel with a new design product. So you are marketing a concept, and concept marketing requires a long time. So you educate customer for 5 years. They told that it took more than 12 years in USA to market the product. 12 years in a country like USA. So their man used to come. I used to go around with him in the whole country and meet mining customer to educate them for 5 years and no order, only money going out of the pocket. Then I did the market survey, government approved the collaboration. We decided to put up a plant in Kalyani, 75 kilometers from here, in Calcutta. What happened? I laid the foundation on 15th of February. On 30th of March, same year, I had a car accident in Delhi, which kept me for almost 6 months in the hospital. I had invited a gentleman called Dr. Dearden, professor of Harvard Business School, who had taught me in Ahmedabad, to Calcutta. And he was reaching on 1st April. I hosted a dinner for him. And I could not reach Calcutta. All the people who were to come, they were informed on 1st, on 31st, on 31st itself. But one man did not get the message. It was given to his office, but they did not give it to the chairman, WBIDC chairman. And he was so upset, I cannot tell you. How dare you play April Fool with me? But subsequently, when he got the message, he cooled off and he came with a doctor to meet me in the hospital. But during the hospital, when I was sick, fully plastered from my head till the waistline, I had to go on every Sunday in a non-air conditioned ambulance, 75 kilometers from hospital to Kalyani to supervise the work. And that's how we completed the work in 8 months' time. The average age of the team was 24 years, 8 months, and 7 days. And this chairman of Skega, when he inaugurated the plant, he wrote, this is one of the best plants outside Sweden. When we decided to market the product, we had done market survey. When we were doing market survey, meeting customer, the customer used to tell, if you make it, it will sell like a hot cake. Just do it. And the same customer, when I went to sell, he said, I will not buy. I asked him why. He said, if your product performs well, my company will do well, but I will not get any bonus or promotion. But if it fails, I will lose my job. Will you take care of my family? Because 98% of the customers for this product were public sector companies. And some, those who were a little extra clever, they say, what is in it for me? What will you do for me? The main problem was we calculated as a business graduate potential of the product in the Indian mining industry. But we did not calculate the convertible potential. If the potential is 100, you may not be able to convert more than 10. So it took a long time for me to understand we did not study the culture of the customer. We did not study the behavior of the customer. We did not realize what would motivate the customer. So for 2 years, we did not have a single order. We were incurring all the expense of running a factory, interest, electricity, security, staff. For 2 years, 0 order book. Then we realized one of my batchmates, Labdi Bhandari, he was also the gentleman who helped Karzan Bhai to start Nirma, because he met him in a friend's house for a dinner. So he told him, what do I do? So he told him, you start this. because he had worked with Hindustan Lever, and he found there was a market for common public at a lower price below surf, which report he gave it to Hindustan Lever, and they threw in the waste paper basket. And out of that, Nirma was born. So he told me, you have total 200 customers. How many orders have you received? I told him 2. He said, study. So we found that if we visit a customer for 10 times, and the gap between 2 visits not more than 15 days, we are likely to get the order. So we brought down from 100, 200 to 100. Nothing happened. We were very scared. Then we brought down the list to 50. We still did not get the order. We brought down the list of the customer to 25 out of 200. And then we started visiting every 15 days to market the product to get the order. Then we started getting the order. But by that time, the company had become fully bankrupt. The company had no money. Few things I did. A, employee first was the motto from the day one. I had 2 people from the IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Calcutta. IIM Ahmedabad was a gold medalist from IIT Kanpur, IIM Ahmedabad. IIM Calcutta was also one of the topper in IIM Calcutta. And 6 boys from IIT Kharagpur in the marketing team. Everybody vowed that we will not leave the company. We will work without the salary till we turn it down. So you must keep your team on a startup time with you that you don't lose them. It was because of their dedication, their challenge, their passion that we could convert the company. We used to travel 25 days in a month. And at times we had no money. We used to sleep in the railway retiring room because we had no money to pay for the hotels. If somebody would ask me, where are you staying? Can I call you in the evening? I would say I'm staying with a friend. What is his phone number? I would lie and tell them that his phone is out of order. Those days there was no cell phone. 25 days in a month, 6 to 8 people traveling day and night. Can you just... So this is how we managed to bring some order to the company. 25 days of traveling, sleeping in the retiring room, no money with us, nobody left. But I always paid the salary of the people on 31st of the month. Once I had to sell my car, which I had bought 4 months before for 84,000, WMC 841 silver gray ambassador for 40,000 rupees, because I needed the money in the evening to pay the salary next day. I sold my wife's jewelry, my LIC policy, but we never delayed the salary of people even one day. Employee first was the motto. We were allowed not to pay the provident fund in the first 5 years because it's a holiday for a new company, but we paid the provident from the day one. We were the first company in India to pay 12% provident fund when the rule was 6%. So because I knew when I used to meet people in public sector companies, retired people, how they used to cry because they had no saving left. Those days, the inflation in the country used to be 6 to 12%, and 8% interest they used to get on provident fund used to bring down their money rather than bring up the money. So during those conditions, we managed to survive only because of passion. Our motto was employee first. Second, we said we will not give up. If you believe in a product, if you think it is good and you want to do it, don't give up halfway through. You will have hundreds of challenges, hundreds of problems. Don't give up. And don't compromise on your value system. We had to get 12.5 lakhs incentive for investment in Bengal from Government of Bengal. The money was given by Government of India, routed through Government of Bengal. And for 6 months, our application was not approved. It will go in the committee for approval and they will reject it. They used to say that this mistake and they will send the file back. So I met a lady called Roma Majumdar. She was the secretary of industry department. And I told her that, look, if I am a graduate of Ahmedabad, from the hospital, I can manage a project in 8 months' time. You think I won't know how to fill up the application? She went to the hall. An IS officer will never go to the hall from a room. wrote, I, Roma Majumdar, instruct you to take this file to the committee in whatever condition it is. She approved it and she told the information company will give later on. Stick to your value system. Don't compromise on your value system. Even if you have to suffer for some time, do that. Don't give up. When we started selling, started making money, and then we found that the mining industry in India was growing at 1% or sometime negative. At times, we used to supply material to the customer and they used to pay us back in the material. So it was like a barter deal which used to have 100 years before. Like we gave steel to Rourkela Steel Plant or say anybody, they will give us, we don't pay the money, you take steel from us. And we will sell that steel in the market at 10% discount. So I knew that if this company continues and if this is the condition of the country in 95, 96, all 98% customers were government customers. The mining industry was not growing more than 1%. At times it was negative. Over the next 2-3 years, the company will go into red and the kind of people I had taken, trained them up, they will all leave. What do I do? So I met a friend of mine, Ashok Bhattacharya. He was the managing director of DCPL, Development Consultant. Most of you know that company. Employed 3,500 engineers, a global consultancy company. He told you, fight the system. I told him I can't fight the system of this country and change the culture of public sector. Then he told me, you change the battlefield. Change the location of your battlefield. But we could not export in 96 because we had restriction on us from SCEGA on export till 98. Then we started preparing in 97 to go out of the country and we recruited new people. We had problem because most of the people who were working in India, they were marketing it to coal industry, iron ore, copper, zinc. And some of the people working in the area of Bihar started eating khaini, living with the engineers in Dhanbad, Hazaribagh area. And they had good technical knowledge, but how can I send them to Australia and USA to sell? The culture there required a little more sophistication. So we hired new engineer, sophisticated, smart, to train them up. There was a little war within the company with the old engineer and the new engineer. The old engineer said that we have worked hard, we have spent our life, we've given our blood, and these new people are enjoying life, we will not let them stay. Then I was working with both the group, and after 2 years it settled down because they realized that old people will have an equally good chance of going. And then slowly, everybody was traveling abroad, so it cooled off. Then we started exporting. So we thought first we will take Africa, so it will be easier to export to Africa as compared to the white country. So in Africa, I went in a delegation with Government of India and I met the Speaker of the Assembly, Mr. Trevor Fowler. So I became very good friend with him and I told him that I or my people would like to meet some of your mining companies. So if you can help me to get the appointment. So he rang up various chairmen and they gave me the time that this time, this date, my people or I can come and meet the purchase manager. My people went, they could not meet a single purchase manager. There was an appointment with 6 people, not one they could meet because they were all white. And they did not give us any appointment. They all came back. Then I knew that for me, if I have to sell the product, and our product was very good, very, very good, then I need a white-skinned man. So from Johannesburg, I did not come back home. I went to London, and I knew that SCEGA branch manager in London, who used to look after African region, had retired. I offered him a job that I will guarantee monthly saving that we are having in London today. He told me this amount. I said, this much money will be in your account every month, and rest of the expenses in India will be free. So I brought him to India to work with me on those terms. And his salary was almost half the salary of the whole company. In fact, when I told my wife that I have hired this man, then she laughed. He's such a small company. How can you hire a British to work for you in India? And she only told me, your father made a mistake, keeping your name little too long. Madan, he should have made it shorter. And if I brought the man, he worked with us for 2 years. He would go with us to African countries. Since he knew everybody, myself and my colleague, Mr. Imam, we will make the technical presentation to people. In the evening, he will go and have a drink with them, or he will play golf with those mining superintendent, and in 2 days, he will give us the order in our hand. We knew 10 times more than the white man who was selling for us. But when an Englishman, Derek Hardman, went to sell for us, nobody asked a question, how big this company is good or bad. Since an Englishman is working in this company, everybody assumed the company is very good, very big, and they started giving us the order. He was very helpful in opening the door for us in Africa and Australia both. But we could not work with him more than 2 years. We could not work with him more than 2 years because his culture was very bad. He would try to make money here and there, which left a bad impression in the company, so we had to part with him. Then we realized that most of the people want the material, an office to be established there. So in 1999 and 2000, we established 3 branch offices, one in USA, one in Australia, and one in Africa. Each office would cost us more than ₹1 crore to run. The salary of the local man, because we had to hire a local man, a secretary, office rent. So each office will cost us almost like ₹1.5 crore per year. So I realized that if I don't sell anything in 1 year, I would lose 4.5 crore. The company was not so strong at that time. But we had different experience. When you are a new company, unknown company, you don't get the best people to work with you. In Australia, we had a technical man, and on drop of a hat, he will ring up and tell us, you do that. And we had a better knowledge than him. So he told one of our chief engineer, you bloody fool, do it the way I'm telling you. So everybody got wild in the company that we can't work with this man. We have to part with him. To part with him, I had to give him 1 year's salary because that was the contract with him. In USA, we hired a man whom I knew for 10 years. He was working in a similar industry, and I had to meet him in Las Vegas in the mining show. So he told us to make the goods in inch and feet, because that is the system in USA, not meter and millimeter. And he said people want delivery in 15 days. So he made a survey and we dispatched $2 million worth of goods. In 1 year, we could not even sell more than 10,000 because that man never went out for selling. He would only make a bogus bill and take the money and the travel expenses from us. So after the year, we found out that we had to part with him. So we were told that don't part with him near Christmas, let the Christmas be over. We waited 4 months more. My boys gave him dinner and parted with him. Next day morning, they went to office, they found office was clean. He had taken away in the night with a duplicate key, all the catalog, card, offer copy, everything. But we said, no, we will stay on. Our subsidiary, which we started in Australia, made a loss for 6-7 years before we started breaking even. In South Africa, we started marketing more in Ghana, because in Ghana, Skeka's price used to be highest. And it was a difficult country. No white man wanted to go because they were all afraid of yellow fever. So we thought that is a place where Indians can go, and we gave good service to them. So we winning the customer very quickly. And in USA, we parted with him. One of my colleagues who used to be our branch manager in Bombay, we shifted him and my son was studying in USA. He had finished his study. They both started working in USA to revive the office. And that's how we developed our branch and started exporting to these three countries. But we were very tight with the money because the office expenses were very high. So we realized in order that we increase our business, there's only one way, that we open and make the manufacturing locally in that country. Because otherwise we cannot capture the large market. And my aim was to be number 2 or number 3 in the world. And let the Indian flag fly, that we can also make goods which are world class, we can meet world class delivery, and we can sell. So we acquired a company in South Africa. In 2004, I went to buy the company. I offered him a low price. The deal did not go through. Again, in 2006, we went, offered him 4 times the price, and we acquired a company in South Africa. We acquired another company in 2010 in Australia, and in 2010 in a company in Chile. South African company did well because we bought 90%, 10% remained with the 2 owners who were in the company earlier, both white. And we told them that they will remain with us for 3-4 years, and we will buy their share after 3-4 year time at a price which I had purchased or more than that. And during this 3 years, they will get their salary and dividend. And if the company does well, they will get a better price. So they stayed on for 3 years. They transferred the management to us, and we had 2 Indians who took over from them, and the company was doing well. And in 3 years, we recovered the money which we had paid for the company. In Australia also, the man from whom we had bought the company, we requested him to continue with us for 2 years. He did that, and we bought his 10% share after 2 years, and the company was doing well. But in Chile, we bought the company where the 2 working managers of the company told, you have to buy all of us, 100%. And in 2000, when we bought that company in Chile, in 2011, in 10 years, we lost 250 crore. We did not study very carefully. By 2010, we had started making good money because from 2002, the company was growing 40% compounded every year. And we were generating surplus cash. So we thought the only way would be that we buy the companies or competitors outside India and compete and make the company grow. In case of Chile, we were advised by Avendis, a merchant banker from Bombay, and they did not do any due diligence properly for us. They did not do who were the people available that we could choose to buy. What is the company? We bought a company in 2.5 months' time. And the general guideline, if you read any book on merger or acquisition, the first guideline is that don't buy a company in less than 1 year time or 2 year time. You should hobnob, flirt with them, stay with them, meet them for 2 years before you buy the company. At least 1 year. And we bought the company in 2.5 months. We did not know the company well. We did not study the company very well. It used to take 43 hours to go from Calcutta to Santiago in 2011. 43 hours. Now it takes 30 hours, home to home. We did not know the language. We did not know the culture. We did not know the labor rule. The company's product were our line, but they were not the best. And we lost 250 crore. So in 2015, we decided to close the company, and we brought down the strength from 200 people to 40 people, that we will buy the product and do the marketing rather than close the company, because we had paid a large amount of money for the company goodwill that was in our balance sheet. And if we sell and close the company, our balance sheet will become 1/3 of the balance sheet. We could not afford that either. So in 2015, we ran the company with 40 people. Then in the meantime, my son had joined, so he met a gentleman called Mr. Wang. He was developing a new product working in the competitor's company. So he met him in a conference. So normal size of the mill diameter is about 20 feet. And the world was changing. They were going for a larger mill of 40 feet and nobody knew how to design the liner for the 40 feet mill. This man was knowing it. So we persuaded him to join us and we bought one more man. So we told we will invest money in a company which was bankrupt. I had to invest 40 crore. Now, the proposal went to the board. So board said that in 40 crore investment, if it does not bring result, the company will not die. But if it works well, we can take a chance. But then the board told the decision is of entrepreneur and the board will not take the decision. They did not have the courage to take a decision in a company which has lost 250 crore. In 10 years, in a country like Chile, where people speak Spanish, we don't know the language, we don't know the culture, we don't know the customer so well. Shall we agree? So they told, you have to take the decision, and we will not say yes or no. Then I thought to myself, in my dream is to become number 2 or number 3 in the world. And South America is 20% market for our product. I cannot become unless I have a manufacturing or a market in South America. So we decided to invest 40 crore. The R&D results were extremely good. We developed the product and the product became very, very good and popular. Now, the question came in 2018-19 that in order to meet the requirement, we need to invest 150 crore. What do I do? I'm 78. We have lost 250 crore. I don't know the culture. I don't know the people. I don't know who will run the company, how we will manage. Then we started discussing this issue in the company. People, those who were 55 and above, they told me, don't take risk. We have just recovered with this product. Whatever we can manufacture, we will make and sell, and we make enough money. Don't dream big. If you fail, we will go into problem, and we have suffered a lot in the last 4 or 5 years after you acquired the Chile plant. People in the company, those who were below 30, they told, let us take a risk, let us invest, let us become number 1. Let the Indian flag fly in the mining industry all over the world. The bankers told me, be very cautious. Don't take a chance. Be cautious and do it. What did my wife have to say? She bailed the company out by selling her jewelry. She is the major shareholder in the company. And she told me, you are 78. When you were young, you did not spend enough time. The children know only the mother and not the father. Spend time with your grandchildren. We need you. You can't go out anymore. Just stay put here and don't invest any money and don't take any risk at this age. I didn't know what to do. Then I remembered what I was taught by Dr. Mote in IIM. He said, you are sitting on the board as a chairman of the company and not chairman of the family. You have to separate the two. Do what best the company needs for its sustainability and growth. And if that is taken care, your family will be taken care. But if you look at your family and the company later, you will not get either of the two. So I decided in 2019-20 to decide to invest 150 crore in a country where we have lost 250 crore. We don't know the language. We don't know the people. It takes 30 hours to go. But over a period of last 10 years, we have developed techniques, methods to run the company so far away with a proper control. So we are going ahead with that project. Hopefully that project should be complete in a year and a half. And that should bring us in the mid-lining as #1 in the world. And maybe we are today in our line second or third largest in the world. Wherever you go, last page, wherever you go, whatever work you do, you will have difficulties, you will have dilemmas, you will have problems. By the time you go in the life, you will have acquired knowledge, skill to deal with them. Keep your purpose clear. This is what I want to do. Stick to this. Don't give up. Maintain your value system. Take care of your employees. Integrity. Be sincere. Be passionate. Be courageous. When I hired an Englishman, everybody laughed at me. But I had the courage to hire him. And it will go a long way to bring you joy and satisfaction from what you would do. Be sincere to your work and be a good learner from mistakes. I think the number of mistakes I did in my company would be possibly highest compared to anybody else did it. But every mistake I did, I learned from it. Today, when I recruit GT and I address their first session for the GTs in the company, my first message to them is, I encourage them to make mistakes. I encourage them to make mistakes, but not repeat mistakes. Why I encourage them to make mistakes? The only way it would mean that they are working. So when they are working, they will make mistakes. जो घोड़े में चढ़ेगा वही गिरेगा, जो घोड़े में नहीं चढ़ेगा वो गिरेगा कहाँ से? So I encourage them, carry on, make mistakes, but don't repeat the mistakes. And give them freedom. Remove the fear from their mind that they should not take this decision, they should not take that decision because they will make a mistake and they will get firing or something of that kind. This is how I have developed myself. This is what I have learned at IIM from my teachers, my father. A lot more I have learned from my mistakes to capture them, to see that I don't repeat them. And this is how I brought the company to this size today. I wish you all good luck. Thank you very much. If any of my narration helps you, I'll be happy. In case you want to ask me any question now, feel free. And if you want to ask me later date, feel free. You can send me a mail or call me up. Thank you. I can't hear you, Dr. Don.
Muted, Dr. Don.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mohanka. Just to summarize what you have told, determination and hard work is very much required. Everyone will face a lot of challenges. Everyone will start from the scratch. What you have the vision that time, you will be the number 2 or number 3 or number 1. The mining will be known with the name of the Tega. The challenges one should take, and also the core value. One should stick to his core value. Nothing impossible in life. If one wants to do, he can do everything. One can choose a risky path. You have already taken a risky path, and where the company growth was, the industry growth, mining industry growth was 1% at time. You set up a company, and also your motto was that company can serve the society. So the first motto is that don't compromise with the quality, and improve your productivity. Marketing concept that you have taken that took 12 years to market in USA. And also whatever the marketing that market one can do market into the market. So it requires a market survey. But one should know that if there will be the potentiality of 100%, opportunity 100%, but one can know that he cannot get 100% order. It may be converted into 10% order because there is some issues. Reducing time to you have taken to visit the customer, and you reduce the time 15 days to visit the customer, and your motto was that employee was the first, dedication to start any setup, dedication and passion, these two characteristics are required. First, you treat your employee first. Don't compromise that suggestion to the young leaders. Don't compromise your value system. You may face the difficulties, you have dilemmas, but if you have the courage, then you can overcome all the difficulties. And also your purpose, your mission, your vision must be clear. You must have the integrity, and also the passionate. You must be very passionate. If you want to start the business, you should be passionate. Be sincere to your work. You may do mistake, but don't repeat the mistakes. That the gist of the session. So thank you very much. Now the second video will come. Over to Ms. Ghosh.
Sunilji, can we have the second video, please?
Bolia. You only run the CNBC film.
See, first CBS, then CNBC.
CNBC only.
CNBC only.
What time was it?
You are welcome to Calcutta Business School, Center of Excellence, centered on excellence.
Our trustees had a vision to set up a business school which would cater to the graduate students and also to working managers to fulfill their aspirations. As a result, our emphasis is on curriculum, on students' welfare, on placement, and also on different types of incubation centers to hone the skills of all the students.
Business School opens the door to an excellent tomorrow.
While selecting a B school, what should you look for? Good curriculum, knowledgeable faculty, excellent infrastructure, good placement, overall personality development? Calcutta Business School has it all.
We welcome you all to this beautiful campus of Calcutta Business School. Calcutta Business School is all about a place where dreams are fulfilled. We have a very, very strong value system. As a group, we have 10,000 students and over 500 faculty and staff members. Our curriculum is all about being learner-centric, where each way, the learner moves ahead on their own. There is experiential learning, transformation, and they are all employment ready because there is an industry connect.
The campus is thus a perfect example where technology and nature meet to educate and develop the next generation of managers, leaders, and entrepreneurs.
Results speak volumes. Students are carefully groomed before they go for interviews, resulting in a track record of 100% placement across 35 sectors and 40 varied functional roles. All students are absorbed as management trainees and are confirmed in the management cadre. Some also go abroad for higher studies. We are proud to place our students in reputed companies in India and abroad, like Maersk Line, McLeod Russell, Ever Ready, PricewaterhouseCoopers, HDFC Bank, KPMG, and many more.
We will run the same this video. Run the same this video.
Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.
It is easy to say successful people in every field are blessed with talent or they're plain lucky. But the truth is successful people work harder than an average person. Jeffrey Immelt, CEO of GE, has been putting in 100 hours every week for the last 24 years. Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer put in 130 hours a week while working for Google. And our very own Indra Nooyi, CEO of Pepsi, worked as a receptionist from midnight to 5 a.m. to earn money so that she could do her master's from Yale. Here I'm reminded of what Kimat Rai Gupta, the man who built Havells, told me. Overnight success story as defined by him is 25 years of hard work, devotion and dedication. So the pattern is very clear. All successful people work hard, work long and work smart. The story of this week's episode is very interesting and a little offbeat from the rest. Madan Mohanka had the right combination when he started his business. He hailed from a business family, did his MBA from a premier institute and had a foreign company as his joint venture partner. Yet, these combinations failed him miserably. But like our epic hero Arjuna, he never lost focus for a moment. He kept at it. Now, some 3 decades later, his company Tega Industries has emerged as the second largest company in the world in mill lining products for the mining industry. Take a look at Tega Industries' story and you'll know why you should not lose your focus or heart if you want to succeed, even if it means waiting for 20 years.
April 1979 was the darkest year in Madan Mohanka's life as the founder and CEO of the Kolkata-based Tega Industries. Madan was witnessing the imminent closure of his company. There were no orders, no money to pay salaries to his staff. Seeing his plight and helplessness, his wife stepped in and offered to sell her jewelry. That saved the day for him and the company. Today, Tega has become the second largest player in the world in rubber mill lining products for the mining industry, and this is reflected in its financials. It earned profit before tax of 117 crore rupees on a turnover of 681 crore rupees for the year ended March 2014. Tega, which began operations in 1978, has moved from being a local company to a truly global company in mining equipment and solutions. 75% of its turnover comes from exports to 72 countries from its 6 plants located in Kolkata, Gujarat, Australia, South Africa, and Chile. Tega's core expertise lies in designing, manufacturing, and distributing rubber mill liners. These rubber mill liners are used in the grinding and beneficiation of mineral ore and contribute to most of Tega's turnover. Its other major product for the mining industry is screen decks. So how did it all begin for Madan Mohanka? Born into a Marwari business family, Madan, after completing his graduation in engineering in 1964, was asked by his father to join the family's electrical business, which had begun in Jamshedpur way back in the 1940s. But young Madan decided to do his MBA from the country's premier institute IIM Ahmedabad in 1965. Soon after completing his MBA, Madan joined the family's business in Kolkata. Life was easy as the cash register kept ringing. But 26-year-old Madan was restless. He wanted to do something new. In June 1971, Madan came across an ad of Switzerland-based Skega in a mining journal. Skega specialized in the design, development and manufacture of abrasion-resistant rubber products for the mining and cement industry. Skega was widely considered an industry leader and had a monopoly-like hold on the global market. This was a completely new technology for India, as traditionally mill linings have been made of steel and not rubber. Besides, the technology was unique and presented before Madan a big challenge to create his own engineers. Madan approached Skega seeking to become their agent in India, but they refused. But Madan was not a quitter. He travelled all the way to Sweden to convince Skega's top guns. They were quite impressed by his pitch and they agreed. Back home, it was more difficult to convince the Indian bureaucrats. After 6 harrowing years of going through all the maze of red tape, Madan got the green signal to incorporate Tega Industries in 1976. It set up a manufacturing facility in Kolkata in which Skega AB picked up 40% stake. The plant went on stream in 1978, but much to Madan's astonishment, there were no takers for the product. The pre-market surveys had belied the reality. The Indian mining industry, dominated by PSUs, did not accept Tega's product. To add to that, his family's interference in his new venture did not go well for Tega employees. Things came to a boil, and Madan decided to relinquish his stake in all other family businesses and concentrate on his pet project. Now it was a do-or-die situation. Madan Mohanka had to make Tega a success. He rejigged his strategy, operated on a wafer-thin margin to keep the business going. Slowly but surely, Tega made inroads into the Indian mining sector. But the scale of operations was nothing to write home about, as the domestic mining industry was growing at a mere 1% per annum. Some 20 years later, Tega posted a meager turnover of 11.9 crore rupees in 1999 and a profit of 27 lakh rupees. Then came the big turning point. Tega's licensee agreement with Skega ended in 1998, and Skega divested its 40% stake. This changed the company's fortunes. Tega was now free to sell mining products in the international markets where there was a huge demand. In other words, it would compete with Skega. Tega's first international order came from Ghana in 1998, and within 5 years, Tega had captured 68% market share in Ghana. Tega Industries soon started growing at an unbelievable 50 to 60% every year. Most of Tega's growth has come in the last 5 years. From revenues of 23.3 crore rupees in 2009-2010 to 681 crore rupees in 2013-2014, Tega has indeed arrived. Today, it is proving to be a formidable competitor to the global #1 player, Metso, which as per the latest estimates, has above 60% share, while Tega has close to 15% market share. To keep its stranglehold in the $1 billion global market, Tega has made 3 key acquisitions in Australia, Africa, and Chile over the last decade. With the tide turning in Tega's favor, private equity players are now betting big on this company. The private equity firm TA Associates has picked up around 15% stake in Tega Industries.
When we met Tega, we were surprised to see, a company of, frankly, an engineering company out of India, which was looking to build a very strong global presence. They are one of the largest players in the mill liner segment in the world. They're one of the few players in that segment, and they supply, an international quality product. They do it directly to all their customers, and their customers are the large mining companies. So you have to be of a certain caliber, both in terms of what you're offering, but also how you interact and do business with them, right? And we found that pretty impressive. When we interacted with Madan and Mehul, we found entrepreneurs who were very open-minded, who were transparent in the way they engaged, who were reasonably clear what they were looking for in a partner. And I think we just got along pretty well. So the idea was, can we back them to get and increased access to various markets where they're not strong today or where they are not present today, and take the business to the next level.
Mineral and mining companies globally are now turning to Tega to get good quality yet cheaper products.
3 or 4 years ago, that we were using a different lining for our mills from a different supplier, but we were having issues with their product quality and service. So Tega has expanded in a relatively short period of time. I think that's because they have exceptional level of service, especially after sales customer service. They're very excellent in that. And they have unique solutions approach to different issues, and they understand the industry very well. And they also have very good technical people support, I think, coming from India. We started buying linings from them 2 or 3 years ago.
Tega Industries today has become an attractive takeover target by global companies. But 73-year-old Madan Mohanka, who is fighting fit, is in no mood to hang up his boots. On that note, we take a short break. When we come back, we talk to the founder Madan Mohanka and his son Mehul on how they are meeting the global challenges. Also joining us on the show is Sandeep Uppal of HSBC. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. In her book, Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish, Rashmi Bansal chronicles Madan Mohanka's hard-won success story very aptly. She says, Mohanka faced all the hurdles and challenges of starting up from scratch. But then, Mohanka had what you'd call Junoon. Veena Krishna caught up with Madan Mohanka and his son Mehul Mohanka at the Dahej factory in Gujarat to find out how the father-son combined kept Tega Industries alive and growing. This is what they have to say. Take a look.
Okay, Mr. Mohanka, Mehul, Sandeep, welcome to the show. Mr. Mohanka, let me start with you, and I'm a graduate. What made you get into business and that too in manufacturing in 1967?
Well, in 1967, the salary of an IIM graduate used to be 10,000 rupees a year, CTC. So I thought, let me try something better to do that. Then I thought of going to US. When I made my application and approached Dr. Mote, he turned it down. He said, I will not recommend your case. If people like you leave India, who will build India? So I stayed back, and I never looked back for going to USA, and I stayed here. Then something to start with, then I found this ad of a SCAGA in one of the office of the mining engineer, which said that we assimilate 3 technologies to give solution to mining companies and mineral processing companies to reduce their downtime. I thought it was a challenging job to assimilate 3 different technology and look for a product. So then I initiated a technical collaboration with them, and that's how I came in this business.
The losses did happen in the beginning. The turnaround took time. Were your decisions wrong, or what was it?
What went wrong was when we initially planned. Those days, the applications were made to get through from the bank. When we made the application, we took 6 months time for development of the market. We little realized that for a completely new technology, where we were not selling a product, we were selling a concept, it would require much longer time. And we took 2 years, a little more than 2 years to get the first order. So the gestation period was much longer in the company than what we estimated. And number 2, the investment on training was very high. We had not estimated that the money that we will be required to invest on training of people to assimilate 3 different technologies: mechanical engineering, mineral processing and grinding, and the rubber technology. We did not get one engineer who would know all 3. So we had to hire people, get them trained by IIT Kharagpur for rubber technology, Indian School of Mines for the mineral processing, then train them to absorb the technology from SCAGA to take it forward. So the expenditure were very high on for the gestation period to pay for it, and also on the training. So everything went wrong.
Okay, so today, even for me, it's astonishing to know that, you were a small domestic company with 12 crores turnover in 1999, and suddenly you've become this, global company with 80% of your current 800 crore revenues coming from exports. What triggered this change?
Well, in 98, our collaboration agreement expired, and then we were allowed to look outside India. Till such time, we were an inward-looking company, marketing only to the public sector and the government companies. So when we wanted to look out, Svedala acquired Skega, and they were competing with us in India. So we knew the only way we can survive is to fight back with them in outside India. So we started looking at external geography and started preparing people to look at export and take it forward.
Okay, so Mehul, what would you say was the trigger? And you are going to face the global challenges. So what kind of challenges do you think you face?
Well, in the 90s, I think the mining industry per se was not growing at all. I mean, roughly around 1% or at times negative growth rates year on year.
From 76 to 90, the mining industry growth was 1%, and some year it was negative also. Some year it was negative as well.
Yeah, so for us, since the top line wasn't growing, though bottom line's always been okay for us, we were very sure that for us, now having had the opportunity to step out, the only way forward was to take our products to a different market. It was just, I mean, the market for us in India was saturated. So that's what led us to step outside, and the first country we went to was Africa. And it was Africa because we were quite sure that that would be one continent which would not have prejudices against an Indian or an Asian manufacturing company. So that would have been for us a lower risk investment. And to our luck, I think that paid off. I mean, that's what I could say. It's pure luck.
Okay, but you would be seeing challenges. There would be some global challenges.
Even at that time, in order to supplement our investment, we hired a British engineer to help us to export. So when he went to export, nobody asked whether it's an Indian company or how small or the big the company is. So that reduced the risk of our investment, though its cost was almost like 40% cost of the whole company. But that helped us to initially start in Africa.
So the face of the company was a British national?
The British national, not an Indian face, to start within Africa. And that helped us to build the references. And once we got the references outside India, then it became slightly easier for us to explore in Australia, USA, and other countries.
But would there be any technology and integration issues that you saw?
Well, technology integration, we had to start from the day one. And why we could grow, because from 76 to 98, we had really absorbed the technology very well, but we were not able to exploit it because our market was limited to India. In fact, in 84, Skega had called for a sample from all over the world, samples from different countries to try out, and they found that samples given from India were declared by them as the best sample, even better than Skega original and USA both. So absorption of the technology we had started doing from the day one, and we had absorbed it properly.
Okay, so Sandeep, how do you look at this Stega's rapid global presence?
While I've seen the progress over the last couple of years, but it's really quite enlightening to hear the progress over the last 4 decades. So the way we see it is that Madan really created a company with very strong foundations, especially around technology, first with a partnership and then on their own. And in a way, they were kind of hostage because of their agreement to the Indian market, which allowed them to really consolidate it, have a strong base. Then, other than the challenges that Madan highlighted, I also find it interesting that whatever opportunity came their way, especially opening up of the global market, growth in the mining sector, they kind of grabbed it with open arms. So that's kind of worked well for them. And from a banker's perspective, you always look at the financial aspect of the business. So we like a company which has consistent growth, which they've demonstrated. We like a company which has the eye on the margins. So it's not that you go absolutely crazy just because there's an overseas market and you go for top line and not for bottom line. So I think that's been kept. The capital structure has been fairly conservative. I see it as a business which has kind of ticked all the boxes, accepted the opportunities, learned from the challenges, and is now well set for growth over the next couple of years.
So Mehul, why would you say your products are in demand today globally?
I think there are two elements to it. One is, of course, the quality of our products that we ship globally. And second has got to do with the customer service element to it. We have a firm belief that we would not sell our products to customers who we cannot service within 48 hours of them lobbing a call into our system. That's the reason why we are today spread across 18 geographies globally.
Okay, and how would you see Tega in the next 5 years?
Well, I think it's going to be I think, quite a challenging experience over the next 5 years because we've set ourselves very steep targets for growth. Now, having gone through the phase of stability and foundation as what my father was involved in the first 40 years of Stega's existence, I think it's for us to now take it forward to the next level. And having gone through the initial hiccups, I think now we are stronger to now grow more aggressively. So I think we've got two elements of growth planned. One is the organic growth, which is going to play out as we build capacities and penetrate new markets. But there is also going to be an element of the inorganic growth story, which is going to fold out. I think in the next 5 years, we're going to remain very acquisitive.
Hello. Now it is the question and answer session, Mr. Mohanka. The students have put more questions. Now, as the paucity of this time, I would like to take a few questions directly from the students. So I invite Miss Trinity Das. Will you please ask directly to Mr. Mohanka your question? Miss Trinity Das? Miss Das?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So, thank you for this wonderful session. My question is, at the beginning of setting up your enterprise, did you have the right resources and relationships?
No, I could not get your question, ma'am.
So my question to you is, at the beginning of setting up your enterprise, did you have the right resources and relationships?
I can't understand your relationship. What is the meaning?
A relationship is that what he wants to tell. Relationship with the other business organization, other.
Yeah, we had a family company selling electrical goods. So I had a feeling for that. But I started working on this project in 71 itself. And it took me 5 years to bring up the company. So I had a feeling for what business is like, how the business is done.
Okay. Second question. Ms. Radhika Roy, your question, Ms. Radhika Roy, are you present? Your question, what type of risks you faced at the time of beginning of your career as an entrepreneur? What types of risks you faced at the time of beginning of your career as an entrepreneur?
The risk is that if you fail and you can't make it, it is hard to start a new job. And also everybody looks down on you. When I failed miserably, even the family at home, he can only read and write. He cannot do any work. Even the banker would abuse. Your friends will also say you're useless. So everybody looks down on you, and if you don't make a success. So if you are a failure, then to start a new career is very hard. So the risk is there always, but risk is always there.
Now, another question, Pragya. Hello, Pragya Devnath. Pragya Devnath.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you please directly ask to Mr. Mohanka?
Yeah, sure, sir. Firstly, a very good evening, sir. Like, honestly, this session was very amazing and it's a guide to us for the future. So in that context, I just want to ask you, sir, that whether the self-motivation and the self-discipline power are extremely important for being an actually entrepreneur.
Well, the self-motivation came from the training that I had by Dr. Moti in Ahmedabad, that you must do something different than what everybody else is doing it. The question came, what different? Where I could have also taken a job for 10,000-12,000 rupees a year and start my career and finish it. Or the other alternative was to start an enterprise. Highly risky, which I did. So the motivation was to do something different, to have a better prestige, better living condition, and better job satisfaction in your life. And the most important was to create jobs for people. That is what Dr. Mote told me when he rejected my application for going to USA, that I didn't teach you to go and work in USA. I would like you to stay here and create jobs for people. That is what the country needs. So I stayed on. I tried to create job. We have today roughly about 3,000 people working around the world. And I'm happy that I could create some job for the people.
Right, great. Another question raised by Miss Isha Kumari. Miss Isha Kumari, are you here? Miss Isha Kumari? Isha Kumari. Miss Isha Kumari? The question she asked, it is noted that some previous entrepreneurs had no adequate education. Whether the budding entrepreneurs must have all skills and education to create a business, whether related education is important. So if one must start, he wants to start the business on mining engineering, whether the mining industry, whether the mining engineering degree is relevant nowadays. If you want to start the computer, the industry, the computer organization, manufacturing organization, whether the BTech computer or MTech computer degrees are important.
It is not important that you know mining. Our business is not mining, supply of the system to mining industry. For us, we had to understand the mineral processing engineering, and that we picked up being an engineer. So it is always good to have a good knowledge of the subject you are in, but it is not a must. What was important is to study, is there a market? Are you willing to stand by this and fight it out? So if you don't have that fighting spirit and passion, you will never succeed. You can always hire people with the knowledge to support you.
Another question asked by Amrita Kaur. Amrita, are you here? Amrita?
So she got disconnected.
Okay. Can the question she raised, can all educated people handle the stress of being an entrepreneur and keep going? I repeat, can all educated people handle the stress of being an entrepreneur and keep going?
Well, for you to be an entrepreneur, education is not so important. There are many people who are not educated and they would do a great business. Dhirubhai Ambani was one of them. So you need to believe in the product, you need to focus, and you have to have passion to drive it hard. If you are educated, it helps you a great deal. Like when I lost money, there was one man called Mr. Natkarni. He was the chairman of IDBI and earlier ICICI. He recommended a rights issue for the company. When people asked him, this company has become bankrupt, the entire equity is wiped off. What are you suggesting the rights issue? But he still did it because of my IIM background. So any education background helps you to create an impression, an image of the people to get support.
Right. The last question asked by Manas. Manas, are you here? Manas?
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
Okay. You can ask directly to Mr. Mohanka. Your question.
Sir, good evening, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful session that we have gone through. Sir, my question from my end is, the entrepreneurs are setting goals that are either too conservative.
Manas,
I can't hear you.
Very low voice. Manas.
Sir, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, audible.
Okay, sir. Sir, thank you so much for the wonderful session. Sir, my question is, the entrepreneurs are either setting goals that are either too conservative or too aggressive. Considering the situation, especially for India, what is your suggestion to all the budding entrepreneurs, like if we are going to be an entrepreneur someday?
Well, entrepreneurs are always aggressive. Unless you drive hard, you drive 24 hours, create team, train people to build a team, you will never have a success.
Thank you.
Never have a success. Drive hard.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So now I invite Ms. Sumita Sarkar that you will give your vote of thanks. And thank you, Mr. Mohanka. Thank you very much. Vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, Mr. Mohanka, for encouraging us so much. I would officially give a vote of thanks. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver this vote of thanks on behalf of the entire fraternity of Calcutta Business School to such an eminent and profound personality who does not need any such introduction. Sir, hearing from you has been an honor. Today, we had an opportunity to hear and learn from you, and this is definitely going to encourage us in our future endeavors. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and shown us a new path. I'm also very grateful to Sikshayatan Foundation for always giving us the best of best opportunities. Heartfelt thanks to our principal, who is also the moderator of this webinar, Professor Daw, for being the catalyst that inspired us to do our best and stand as a pillar of power. With deep sense of gratitude, I would like to thank all my professors for their untiring efforts, the supporting staffs for their support, lastly, the viewers for being rock solid support system and encouragement. Thank you so much for joining this webinar with the hope of meeting all of you again very soon. Lastly, on behalf of the Institute, I wish you all to stay healthy and stay safe in this tough time. Thank you. Have a great day. So we hope to listen again from you and learn many more things. Your experiences are like the guiding and the shining stars for us, where we will keep learning every day. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for inviting me. If any one of you have any question, please send me a mail. I'll be too happy to reply to you. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mohanka. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.